Tasha, you've been through so much. What situation is like the toughest for you to think about, to just go back to that place? What's your toughest situation, or the most traumatizing situation?
I've had a lot. I'm gonna give you my top three.
Mm. Total. That's deep. That's deep. Go
My
ahead.
top three was um I met a guy at a gas station one day and he looked like he had money. And I had a 1 year old and I left with him from that gas station and got in his car. We went to, there's a place in Detroit called Belle Isle. We went there. We was drinking. I remember what we was drinking. We were smoking weed. We were drinking Patron shots, but we were chasing it with Budweiser. Zooted. And I think he laced my blunts, or I don't know if he put it in a drink or in a blunts, whatever. But after that, I remember the next thing I remember after being on the island was I remember my head laying up against the window. The window was cracked, and I can feel the breeze from the air, like on the right side of my face, like right at my forehead. And I was laying up against the window. And then I went out again. And then when I opened my eyes the second time, I was being gamed by 5 men. So I think that will be at the top of the top. That's number one of the top three. And that was really my turning point as well in getting to know who God was for myself. And my mother used to always say something that I didn't understand until that moment. And she used to say, God doesn't have any grandchildren. I used to be like, what is she talking about? What she meant by that was, you can't always get to God through me. Like, you got to go to God for yourself. He has to be your father. You have to get to know and have a relationship with him for yourself. And in that moment, while I was laying in that bed and I opened my eyes, and it was like, this cannot be happening to me. This is not supposed to happen to me. I'm the pastor's daughter. I'm the preacher's kid. My mother's a professional singer, traveling the world, winning awards. And how is this happening to me? And sometimes people sit in the judgment seat when they say, well, if this ever happened to me, I would do, and I would do this, and I would scream, and I would fight, and I would. You don't know what you would do when you find yourself in certain situations. Until it happens to you, you have no idea what you would do when it's a matter of life and death, because they could have killed me because I woke up while it was happening. And I don't think they ever intended on me waking up. So when I woke up and I started to look around the room, I could see, like, it was one guy right here by my head. It was one on top. It was one like right here. And then it was one like kitty corner, like by the closet right there, kind of hiding. And it was one like stooped down on the floor. And none of them had clothes on. That's how I realized what was happening. And I didn't want to scream. Because my goal at that point was get out of this room alive. You have a child. Get out of this room alive. And I just started to think the name of Jesus over. I started to think the name of Jesus over and over in my mind. I never opened my mouth. I never said a word. I just started thinking his name. And that is how powerful the name of Jesus is. That is how powerful God is. And I don't know what they saw, but I believe the Lord allowed them to see something, because as I was thinking the name of Jesus over and over in my mind, they started scrambling. Their eyes got big and they just started saying, we got to get her out of here. They threw me my clothes and they just started running out of the room. So in that moment, that is when God became real to me. And I will never, ever change my mind about serving him, living for him, singing for him, telling people about him, because I have too many experience. We got history together. I have too much experience with God I don't care what the government is saying. I don't care what society is doing. I don't care about any new trends or what anybody could say. You cannot change my mind about who God is and who he is to me. I'm sold and solid on that. And it's because not strictly because of that, but that is like the top turning point of my relationship with God. He became real to me in that moment. So that was my top one. I know I said a lot. That was my top one. Number 2 was my second marriage. My second marriage. Thinking I'm, marrying someone that loved me and was going to protect me and honor me and be there for me. And this was during the pandemic. And all my concerts are canceled. Everything shut down. I went from having movies booked and all of this stuff, new music coming out, all of these things. And
this is after the success.
This is after Sunday Best. This is fast forward after all of that. This is 2020. And we had just got married in 2019. So we're like 8 months into our marriage. Pandemic hit. Bam. A week after my birthday. In March. Stuck in an apartment. A 1-bedroom apartment with somebody that I ended up finding out don't even like me. And this man looked at me and told me when I was crying, and I said, I don't know what I'm going to do, because I'm used to being on the road traveling. This is how I make my money. I didn't have a lot of money saved up at the time. I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to do. And he looked at me and said, I don't want to be with anyone I have to take care of. And then it was just issue after issue after situation after situation. And I was told to my face that I was something like a project. And that I was like, so you've been playing with me all this time? And he paused for a long time and he said, yes, you can say that. And walked out the house. That would be number 2 on the most traumatic situations I've ever been through in my life. To my face. And so if I didn't want to end up in a prison cell, I called the movers immediately after he walked out that door. And 2 days later, I moved back to Detroit from New York. And I was married to a pastor. So yeah, let's pause on that. Yeah.
You ever seen him since?
Who? Yeah, I've seen him. I've been around him. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Did you forgive him?
I do. I forgave him. I actually had to pray for him. He had a situation, and see, that's the thing. That's the thing. When you know you've been with as terrible of a person that you may be, as wicked as you may be, when you know you've been with somebody that really loved you for real and that is a good person, you know who to call when you get in trouble. And I had to end up praying for him because he was in a situation after we were no longer together, and I had to talk him down off of a ledge. And of all people, he had to call me. And it took everything in me to do it. But I did it because God told me to do it. And that's who I am. Number 3, for the most traumatic situations in my life, it was my father passing. And so we never said step parent. And this just happened in July of last year. July 16th rocked our family's world. My grandfather died. And when my grandfather died, I go to South Beach, Miami, for the 4th of July. I started a new tradition for myself because anybody can barbecue. I was tired of doing that. So I go watch the fireworks on the beach every year for the past couple of years. And I'm sitting on the beach and I heard the Spirit of the Lord say, call your father. And so I knew he was talking about my stepfather. So I called him and we had a long conversation. And I didn't know why at the time I was doing this, but I was thanking him. This is July 4th. I'm on the beach. The beach is full of people, fireworks, all of this is going on. And I'm talking to him saying, thank you so much for taking care of me and my sisters. Thank you for honoring my mother. Thank you for being the best father. Thank you for my first opportunity you gave me when I was 8 years old, when I did my first commercial for United Way. Thank you for every opportunity you've given me. The Lord gave me that opportunity to have closure with him. The next day, I flew into Detroit, and it was his father's funeral. So my grandfather, he stands up to start the funeral, the service, and has a stroke at the church in front of everybody. Ambulance comes. Everybody's praying. They rush him to the hospital. We get to the hospital, and the doctor comes in. He shows us the scan, and he says, the man you knew an hour ago, you'll never know again. We're still praying. Of course, we have faith. We're believing God. And I'm just trying to be strong for my mother. And he was in the hospital for 11 days. And then he passed July 16th. And so that's kind of where we're still like coasting with that right now. Still coping with that, still dealing with that. Yeah.